We're going to talk Duke UConn for a little bit. And Cam Boozer, for some reason, in a double team, decided it was a good idea to pass the ball down court with about 3 seconds left, turned it over for UConn to hit a game-winning three with, what, 0.3 left in the game.
Unreal.
Let's just talk about, March Madness for a whole for just a couple of minutes before we dig in, because it's so big right now, right? It's competing with opening day in the sports world. Those are the two biggest things going on. So I know we're a baseball show, but I mean, that's our jam-packed weekend, right? We were both tuned into that. So let's just hit it up real quick.
Like, personally, I mean, I know I'm on a baseball podcast, but college basketball is probably my favorite, level of sport, or just sport to watch in general. March Madness is the best tournament. Everybody's been talking crap about it because of last year, and I think this has been one of the best tournaments easily ever since that Kentucky Santa Clara shot. It's just kind of been onions. Even the first day was onions with High Point and everything. So Duke just looking panicky. I mean, it's just Duke. We've seen this for, I can't even tell you the last championship they won. It was in the 2000s, I believe. Don't even know off the top of my head. But for a team like that to just act so panicky and not be ready to just knock down 2 free throws, shocking. Yeah, and then the Boozer twins. It was actually Caden who threw it. The crappy. Well, they're both kind of not great in my opinion, but and just for Braylon Mullins to step into like a 35-footer, that was like the most wet sound. Like that was the most swish I've ever heard in my life. Like that was the loudest. And Bill Rafferty like literally had a stroke and then just went nuts on the sidelines. Like nothing's better than that. Like it made you like jump out of your bed or your seat, whatever you're doing, just jump up in the air. It's the best, man. And Dan Hurley's just such a psycho. And I mean, I loved Illinois, but now I can't see UConn not at least getting to the championship. I still think Arizona takes it all. Michigan's just had like an easy road. I think they're good, but Arizona's just too oiled of a machine. The way they came in the second half against Purdue was amazing too. So it's just been such a good tournament. I can't wait for the Final Four. Mixing in with the opening day, it's one of my favorite times of the year.
Oh, for sure, dude. And I was before I came to Florida. Watching that Michigan game, and dude, I was kind of disappointed because I wanted to see at least a competitive game. Tennessee came up flat; they looked awful.
Yeah.
But dude, UConn really impressed me because, last 2 times out they lost to the Giannis. Rick Pitino, the Italian man, showed them up the last 2 times. But dude, they came back. They were down by what, 12, 15 at halftime.
Yeah, it got to 17.
Nice little couple. Yeah. Nice little drives, some runs together to get the game back in striking distance, and came down in the final, seconds for them to pull away with that. And shout out Dan Hurley for, being a dickhead, and he's just awesome. It's great.
And he didn't call a timeout too. Like that's how you trust your team, man. Like you just let them run. I totally believe in that, especially on a stolen ball. Like they had numbers, so it was
for sure.
That was probably up there with Chris Jenkins, Villanova. I mean, in my opinion, one of the biggest buzzer beaters. This has to be top 5 in NCAA history. I mean, to send it to the Final Four down 2 from 35 feet, and it was absolute, just splash. But that's for everyone else to decide. I'm happy kids nowadays kind of got a taste. This is reminding me of, an old school March Madness tournament. I know there's not, a 5 or a 6 in the Final Four, which we really don't need, but it's a good mix of teams, and especially a good mix of conferences. And shout out to the Big Ten too, because the SEC just sucks at everything now.
Yeah, they do suck, and I just want to throw that out there too. But man, what a great tournament! Also, what a great opening day, man. We're gonna lead off with I think one of the biggest headline stories going into this weekend. Didn't really play out that way, but we're going to talk some Yankees Giants. And man, both of us were very high on the Giants coming into it. A lot of storylines with Tony Vitello becoming first-year manager in Major League Baseball, coming from the University of Tennessee. And dude, it was just complete dominance from the boys from the Bronx. Not a great week for Aaron Judge at all, honestly. He only had the 2 home runs for his 2 hits. Batted a whopping 154, but the Yankees really didn't need him. They had offensive firepower from everybody else, when it came from Bellinger, Rice, Chisholm, Stanton, who really came on in the opening day game. But let's touch upon this series. What were your biggest thoughts about the Giants, who went scoreless for the first two games?
Yeah, guys on the Yankees too were running off some WBC play. I think that is going to be a little bit of a son of a gun.
You still
Hello?
alive here? Yep, you're here.
Oh shoot, sorry. It came up on my screen. Sorry, folks. We're dealing with some technical difficulties.
You're good.
Yeah, so I think like it comes down to a lot. The Yankees, a lot of the hitters had some experience getting early good reps right away, and it just seemed like the Giants hitters were just guessing a ton. It seems like the timing's not there yet. I mean, this is a team that has a hell of a division to get up. I don't know if they'll be able to make the playoffs still, just with how tough that division is. But they have so much time left in the year. If this team gets hot, there's enough hitters on that team, especially with how aggressive Buster Posey would be at the deadline. But just seemed to me like bats that just weren't warmed up yet. I think if this leaks into maybe week 2, 3, where you're seeing this, then you can really start to hit the panic button. But there's a lot of differences. They were starting earlier than other teams. They didn't have a Sunday game. It was just a weird series in general, like with the whole Netflix crap too, which we don't have to talk about that. But I just think it was just a weird series where New York's just kind of weird. Always usually you kind of used to playing in a circus, even at home. So I think the Yankees just got off. They just were a little more turned up. Kind of like preheated. They were a little more preheated, ready for the season, comparison to the Giants. So I think Logan Webb will be fine. I think the hitters will be fine. I think Chapman, Adames will find their way. Devers, Ramos has just been really cold, even in the WBC, but he barrels the ball too much not to start hitting the ball soon. So I think Vitello's special like superpower is going to be getting these guys to play hard every single night. So I think they'll get that kind of in the middle of the season. They'll start seeing that positive upside from him. But for now, I think it's just trying to stay 500 and making sure this doesn't sink too quick. But I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, and the only guy I really saw had put up some good at bats for the Giants was Luis Arraez. Like you said, everybody seemed like they were pressing. And, I got the impression that it was mostly to, like, this is a new manager, start to a season. They're trying to come out swinging. They're trying to impress, make their mark. Because, even some of these guys that are, solidified in the order are, still ball players. They're still employed by these teams, right? They want to leave their impressions to somebody new. That was just my opinion. But I thought it was just a poor overall showing for the Giants. I don't expect this to continue like this because that's just not baseball. You're going to start off sloppy like this. They did not play great defensively. They did not pitch well. Tyler Mahle only went 4 innings, gave up 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. But also, this is a Yankees team last year, led the majors in runs. So we got to put that in perspective that they just came out swinging. They put up better at bats. Like you said, they were more weathered because they had more guys playing in the WBC. That's all I really want to touch on upon this series. The Yankees do have a big series coming up tonight against the Seattle Mariners, who had a split with the Cleveland Guardians that we'll talk about later in the show. But man, I want to touch up this Red Sox series that had some crazy, whole plate umpiring. Díaz, one of the worst umpires in all of baseball. I don't know. I think there was like 6 challenges or something like that with ABS, and all of them were overturned. But, dude, this Reds team really impressed me. The Red Sox kind of just didn't show up except for opening day offensively. But, yeah, man, yesterday, just not a great showing by the Red Sox at all. Yeah, 3-2 loss to the Reds. Reds take the series 2-1. Let's touch on it.
Yeah. Willer really did the only thing from what I saw yesterday. He had that 2-run blast. But somebody that's really shocking me, and I liked at the end of last year, and we kind of touched on him too for the Reds. I like Sal Stewart. He's kind of impressed me already at first base. He took that like shot. He's hitting the ball well to start, but he's also took that shot off that wrist. And then like in the post game interview, he was like, they asked him like, is it broken? And he's like, no, it's not broken. And then he's like, well, then my savior saved me from being able to play. I just kind of like how like dramatic he is about baseball. I kind of like guys like that because baseball is like such a crazy sport. You kind of need to be a little cuckoo. So I love him and his attitude. I think Tito's really getting those guys to start liking each other. That's a superpower, right? Tito's always done that. And you knew he was going to bring his guns against the Red Sox. Like when he plays us, the Red Sox, he wants to, like you said, you want to leave an impression with your employer and your former employers. You want to show them you're better off in the future. So I think the Reds just came out ready to go. And we all know Reds opening day is like a holiday. So I think sometimes with your offense, like I think the Red Sox will see the inverse of this when they start opening day in Fenway. You just get that juice, a little more energy. It's almost like a playoff atmosphere that first game or two. So I think Red Sox will be fine. This is a team that I'm like really high on. And I know I kind of pretty much have to go with them now because talked about them a lot. But I think their pitching is going to save them. The bats will get warmed up. I think a lot of these guys are just pressing a ton. Like you said, we saw it, just not letting the ball come to them, just trying to do a lot for in new situations for new faces watching them. So I think the Red Sox will be fine. But again, same with the Giants. If this continues, I mean, you can't let this seek into the 10th, 11th game. You got to get this corrected pretty much right away. You got to turn around and win this next series if you're the Red Sox.
For sure, dude. And my main takeaways, too, is I thought the Red Sox should have swept this series. Or not the Red Sox. Sorry, the Reds should have swept the series.
Yes, yeah.
Because the Reds in opening day had bases loaded with one out against Garrett Crochet. Didn't capitalize. Obviously, Crochet struck out the last two batters to end his frame of the night. But, dude, Sonny Gray in the second game came out, and he looked terrible. He was straight BP. South Stewart hit his first career home run against them. And the Reds really just kind of had timely hitting this entire series. They played great defense yesterday as well. Early, who pitched for the Red Sox, had a great outing. So the Red Sox have some guys in their rotation, like we touched upon in our earlier in the season when we were talking about all these teams. But overall, like I said, timely hitting. South Stewart with his home runs had 2 hits last night. He's batting 700 in his short sample size. Eugenio Suarez had the big 2-run home run yesterday to put them ahead. But man, this Reds team, like you said, under Tito's found a way to, whatever clubhouse it is, whatever mischief comes upon at all in any of his clubhouses. When you think about the 2004 Red Sox, right? Some of these big names, some of these big personalities ended up gelling together after some, adversity. Reminds me a lot of this Reds team, right? A lot of uncertainty when it comes to Ellie De La Cruz. He didn't really perform well. A lot of expectations coming in here. Matt McClain, and he had a great series. So there's a lot of guys that have, higher expectations and that are going to lean upon Tito, and showed really well in these first 2 games, obviously taking the series 2-1 and really looking like a complete team. The offense is going to come around, like you said, for the Reds and even for the Red Sox too. Not really impressed by how they went out this series. I thought they should have gotten swept, but Roman Anthony is continuing to stay hot and show that he's one of the best young outfielders in all of baseball. Marcelo Meyer had a great series, batting .333 in the series. Another guy to watch out for if you're a Red Sox fan. Other than that, not a lot of great production except for Cedar Rafaela, who had a clutch hit on opening day and last night. He continues to come through when it matters. He'll show you that consistently throughout the year. But not really concerned about the Red Sox. I think they'll turn it around. It's kind of one of those teams where the Reds they just play well at home and they're just well managed. 2 heavyweight managers, Cora and Francona. Great series to watch overall.
I don't see Durbin going 0 for 12 in another series. I don't think that's going to happen a lot. So
absolutely not. And again, this is. Sorry, I just muted my mic on accident. Again, like we touched upon earlier, new team, new employer, right? I'm not trying to continue to make excuses for players, but that's a real feeling, right? No matter what the circumstances, sure you get spring training at bats, but it's completely different when the lights are the brightest on opening day, where you're playing at Great American Ballpark, which is a national holiday on opening day. Nobody does it better than the Reds. So the lights are brightest, right? There's more media attention there, especially you're playing for Boston. You're going to have higher expectations, too, than what you did in Milwaukee. He just looked like he pressed me. Nothing terrible mechanically, nothing awful in this approach, just pressing. Pressing can be fixed in a matter of just like a long at bat or a barreled ball here and there. So like you said, and I don't really expect him to continue to struggle. He's going to be a key piece for this Red Sox ball club.
Absolutely. Well, kind of going to another team here. Next series is a team that I think was a little bit of a sleeper, and I wish I put him more into my betting. Cardinals-Rays. This is a Cardinals team that did not have a problem hitting the ball in any of these games. However, the Rays came back and won the last game. Cardinals won the first game 9-7 on opening day, won in extras 6-5, and then ended up the Rays coming back winning 11-7. Fun fact about my flight, so I was on vacation last week for all the fans here. When I was coming back to St. Louis, there was a guy, Rays fan, going to St. Louis to watch the Saturday game. And we were talking about the teams back and forth, and we both agreed Cardinals kind of have like a sleeper build this year. They're kind of like very, very prospect heavy, very like not no name heavy, but like deep in baseball names that you wouldn't know if you were kind of a casual fan. And I kind of like the way they were hitting. I don't know how you felt about this series, Andrew, but Cardinals really impressed me. And of course, Yandy Diaz is just a fucking ridiculous stud.
Just a stud. What a horrible trade by Cleveland.
Yeah.
But not going to get into that. Dude, yeah, Cardinals have impressive players. Obviously, only 3 games. But J.J. Weatherholt, man, the 7th pick of the draft 2 years ago, really impressed me. 3.08 batting average in this series. The 1.0 OPS, had the big home run. 1 for 4 last night. But he's continuing to show some pop in that leadoff spot. Continue to solidify, playing second base. Going to be a great tandem of the future up the middle with him and Mason Wynn. Like we talked about earlier, dude, Jordan Walker kind of impressed me too. Batting 400. I was a little bit higher on him compared to other people. I know he struggled, but when you bounce back and forth, that's like swinging from JV to varsity, right? A lot mentally. Not an excuse, though, to play like shit, but also it takes a lot mentally. But yesterday, I was kind of impressed overall by both of these teams. Steven Matz really coming out flat for the Rays in his first start. Didn't really expect that. Really good veteran innings eater. Sorry, there's a truck firing up. I don't know if you can hear that really loud, but
that's all right.
My fault, guys. This is the only place I could set up for today. But anyways, Ben Williamson had a nice little stint. Prospect from the Mariners came over in the trade. Some of these guys really impressed me. Cedric Mullins, Jonathan Aranda continues to show pop. Both of these teams going to be under the radar in both leagues, right? Might not be playoff caliber teams, but playoff contending teams and very competitive ball clubs.
Absolutely. And I think there's just good stability within the franchise, good management, guys that have been playing together for a minute. So I like both these teams. And shout out to Victor Scott, man. He's just like such a stud. Already 500 Gold Glover, like just such an underrated player. There's so many guys like that on the Cardinals. So
yeah, Victor Scott is just the typical Cardinals player, right? For the Cardinals way. And I want to talk about a little bit too, Chaim Bloom, right? Taking over. It's officially the Chaim Bloom era in St. Louis. And he's came over from Boston. A lot of criticism of how he ran the team. I don't necessarily agree with the Mookie Betts trade. But again, that's all a financial shit. We don't know, right? We're not in the building. But as fans, we can say that was a mistake, right? With the return they got back. Verdugo only had a couple of good years. But, dude, you look on this just roster in general. This is officially him taking the reins. Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, J.J. Weatherholt, Victor Scott, Pedro Pajes. They got some names, right?
Yep.
Obviously, this came over from the previous regime, right? But, it was his decision to play J.J. Weatherholt, right? It was his decision to have Mason Wynn continue to have shortstop reps, right? And not just move them over, right? So I want to make that point that Chaim Bloom is going to take a lot of shit from what he did in the past, but let's give him a clean slate, because what he's doing right now with the Cardinals, it's going to be under a microscope. And I'm going to give him credit right now if credit's due. This is a competitive ball club. A lot of people have written them off from the beginning of the year. They might not be a playoff team right away, but they'll be playoff contenders, and they got a lot of work to do in the farm system that hasn't been as good as they were in the past, right? We talk about the Cardinal way, where it seems like there's always somebody coming up through the shadows, replacing, an Albert Pujols when he left, right? They brought in Paul Goldschmidt. They brought in, a bunch of these other guys from the shadows, not from their farm system, but externally, internally, always found a way. Chaim Bloom's going to find a way, right? And he's going to continue to do what he's going to do. They brought over Dick Fitz and all those other sort of guys that were under the radar players from different organizations. Let's see how they fit in to this ball club.
Yeah, and in Chaim's defense, too, he did take it over after Dave Dombrowski, who just, spent every single dollar the Red Sox ever made for, 6 years. So, he inherited a pretty fucked up situation. So, at the end of the day, sorry, screwed up situation. But that's kind of how it was. It was a really effed up situation financially. So, kind of hands are tied with that Mookie trade. And, he finds dudes. The Red Sox, won a title. When was the last Red Sox title? Am I crazy? Didn't they win it? Yeah. Oh no, that was Dave. That was Dave. I am crazy.
Yeah. No, it was Dave Dombrowski. But remember, 2021 was Chaim Bloom's, I think, first
Didn't they
year,
go to
right?
Because the World Series. Didn't they lose?
No, they lost in 6
ALCS
in the American League Championship Series. Yeah,
that's right.
But
that's right. To
again,
the Astros.
Year 1 without Mookie, right? Or year 2 without Mookie for them. Made it to the American League Championship Series. Fell off after that, right? But no excuses, though, too. I will blame him a little bit in Boston. It was a fucked up situation with Dombrowski, but Boston's the type of place where, you have the expectations to always win, and you have the resources to always win. It might have been an ownership problem, sure, not spending money, but you also look what, I hate the motherfucker who's running them now. He's so weird. But look what he's done with the farm system, bringing up Anthony, Marcelo, Meyer. They traded the password away, but he was another guy. Christian Campbell, who's been a kind of a bust, but we're going to give him a little bit of time. They have guys coming up through the ranks and through the farm system. So that's another way they can win without spending so much money. But like we said, Boston's kind of like New York. You should always find a way to win, no matter what the circumstances are.
Absolutely.
And I want to touch on this series because this is a series I kind of was interested in the beginning of the year. Obviously, first NBC game of the year was the Mets and Pirates. And what a horrific start to the year for the Pirates on opening day. Paul Skeens didn't make it out of the first inning. Both of us had our daily picks over 15 and a half outs recorded for Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Fucking O'Neal Cruz.
I take back my take. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I actually like my take. I just think O'Neal Cruz just sucks.
Yeah, and honestly, he didn't look awful at the plate. Too bad. He batted 200 in this series, but his at-bats weren't as awful. He wasn't chasing a lot. They said on the broadcast the other day that he was hitting majority left-handed pitching and left-handed machine side, so he doesn't pull off the ball and can not swing and miss as often, which is great adjustment. Honestly, most hitters should do that, is to go on your arm side to force you to take the ball the other way because it's coming at an angle inside towards you, so you have to pull your hands in and really fight
Especially
off.
when you have that type of power.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to play it at some point, right? He's not a terrible ball player. He is an awful defender. I'll say that. 2 big errors that cost, 5 runs. A horrible start for Paul Skeens of the year. But we all know, watch out, Cincinnati Reds, who he's slated to go to next. Take the over on his Ks because he's going to go absolutely ballistic. He's going to be pissed. But talk about this series, Brian. What's your overall take? Pirates won yesterday 4-3. Kind of a shocker to me.
Pirates, yeah. Honestly, that was an impressive win at the end of the series. That's something where I think with the new with the interim manager coming back and having more added on this year and having Skeens and all these guys, like I think that's something that really showed huge because usually they'd get swept in that series. They just cannot get themselves in a huge deficit. The Pirates always get themselves in a huge deficit. That's what they did with Shelton last year. They played almost to 500 the last like 120 games of the year. So they just need to be able to stay above water because they can't drown themselves early. I mean, the hitting production was awful compared to. I mean, kudos to O'Hearn and Lowe. They already started making their money back for them because they were really the only providers of offense. I think, yeah, they had 11 combined hits, almost all their RBIs, all their home runs. So kudos to those two guys coming in, really stepping up. But this is a team that's just going to have to, again, keep their head above water because if Skeens has outings like this, I don't think he'll be off, but hypothetically, let's say he's just a little off to start this year. He has an off April, maybe like a 4 ERA. That could. I mean, if you swap 3 or 4 of his starts to losses, that can really put this team behind the 8 ball to where they're playing catch up, and this team's not good enough to play catch up the whole year. They need to get some confidence early. So, kudos to the Mets. I still not really impressed with them. Bo Bichette, not a great series, but again, new situation. We're not going to keep talking about that, but new situation. But at the same time, I'm not too impressed with this Mets team. So I think it was a lot of what the Pirates did wrong. I mean, again, O'Neal Cruz, his DRS is probably minus 20 already or whatever it is. So, that he's just such a liability in center. So this is something we worried about with the Pirates. They have the worst fielding. If you look at their whole defensive roster, they have the worst fielding in the league. So they're going to have to get that shaping up pretty quick because they have a lot of good pitchers. And if you can't give guys extra outs against these pitchers.
A great point, yes, that you made, right? O'Neal Cruz last year, negative 15 defensive runs saved, one of the worst center fielders in baseball, already on one of the worst fielding teams in all of baseball. But, dude, like you said, this is a team that went out and spent the highest payroll that they've ever had in franchise history, $100 million, and it showed, right? They went out and traded for Brandon Lau, had 3 home runs. At the top of the order, batting second behind O'Neal Cruz when he starts going, dude, this might be a scary ball club. If they can figure out defensively. Last year, Paul Skeens went 10-10, dude, with a 1.9, whatever he had, insane ERA. That can't happen, right? That can't happen for 2 years in a row. They're going to finally give him some run support. So I'm a little bit higher on the Pirates, especially in this division. But, dude, the NL East is going to be a crazy, crazy division, kind of like we saw 2015 when everybody was good. A lot of similarities here, too. But for the New York Mets, other than fastball Freddie, McLean had an okay outing yesterday. Better outing than what he did in the WBC. Not too bad, but offensively, Lindor looked terrible. Soto was like really the only sign of life outside of Luis Robert Jr., who had some really good at-bats. For some reason, when he gets traded away from the White Sox, he decides to put up quality at-bats and play some good defense. But Brett Beatty continues to – I was shocked too. Yeah, but Brett Beatty, he kind of just shocked me a little bit last year with the adjustments he made. He's continued to, not really ball out, but, put up some respective offensive numbers. And then Francisco Alvarez, another catcher that they need to go, right? Especially with the absence and the loss of Pete Alonso. The catching spot is going to be more of a question mark, right? It's going to be who's going to step up and provide power for the loss of, Pete Alonso. So let's face it, Pete Alonso is like 2 players and 1 offensively, right? A 40 home run guy. That's what they lost, right? So you bring over Luis Robert Jr., who could provide you, right, 20 home runs. If Francisco Alvarez can take a step to doing that, right, produce better offensively, they can make this lineup similar to what they had with Pete Alonso. I just want to touch on that. Jorge Polanco, didn't really impress me, but he's just a good ball player. He'll figure it out. But that's all I have on the Mets. Do you have anything else on the series before we move on?
No, I just think the power aspect for the Mets could be a real problem without Pete Alonso. And then I think you take a guy like McNeil off this team too. I just think I don't know. It just seems like they're a different team, and it doesn't really fit their identity. They need their pitching to really, really be good because I just don't see, or Soto to have like 50 home runs because I just don't see where the power is going to carry them. I could see them having some hitting lulls come June and July where they're scoring 1 or 2 runs, kind of like just like last year.
For sure.
And I don't like them.
Yeah, me too. So I want to do 2 things before we wrap it up. We're going to touch on our final series. Obviously, one of the biggest headlines yesterday was the first ever Sunday Night Baseball game. And our Cleveland Guardians got absolutely dominated by Emerson Hancock. Emerson Hancock went 6 innings of no-hit baseball. And just absolutely, the Mariners went nuclear offensively yesterday. Just shit show showing by Cleveland, but a split. A split was what happened. We got to talk about Chase Slaughter, too. We were very high on him coming in. Dude has 4 homers, 2 on opening day. 1 big one off of Andrés Munoz to the opposite field. Let's talk about this series. So your biggest takeaways. And then after this, we're going to touch upon, some teams that we didn't get time to touch upon, so on and so forth. But let's continue to talk about this series.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see Chase Slaughter already. I to my knowledge, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if Kirby's been an all-star, but I think his first 3 home runs all against all-stars. All against all-stars. Like, it's – and that opposite field home run, just throwing your hands at the ball, that is so smooth and technical. I honestly think yesterday was just them being tired. You got to think, too, they played literally 10 o'clock baseball for 4 straight games. And that was 8 o'clock Seattle time, but still pretty late. And they just came off an extra inning game. They had the worst schedule I've ever seen to start an opening day with. The amount of travel and the times of games is just unreal. They don't play a day game basically until they get back home on Friday against the Cubs. So that's just a professional split. Vogt has said that in the locker room. He's like, at the end of the day, we got to split this. We got our clutch hitting in games 1 and 3. The pitching was fine. Slade, CJ Kayfus kind of played that ball tough and then kept that inning going, which eventually kind of took us out. But we didn't score any runs. It wasn't going to be a big deal anyway. But I think it's just one of those things with the Tribe that it's really a hard schedule to start. So keep your head above water. This team's a second-half team. Vogt's always been like that. But he's been having pretty good Aprils to start. We're not the hottest teams, but we're better than, the Tito days where we're 500. So I think the pitching's been looking really good. I think Slade honestly looked fine. He was just left in a little too long in that 1 inning because of that Kayfus play. And I'm really happy with what I'm seeing. I really like the lineup. I'm excited to get Valera back too. And I like seeing Quan in center. I think that helps a lot. I think Kayfus is kind of just the odd man out to this team. I like the guy, but I think just kind of let him go play baseball in AAA at this point. But that's for you and Coop to talk about more.
Yeah, sorry. I kind of like disconnected and reconnected, but
you're good.
Me and Coop to talk about some guy at AAA, but we'll hit
CJ
on that in a second.
CJ Kayfus going back to AAA.
CJ Kayfus. I think a little bit of time is needed, right? In the majors before we make that decision. This team traded Jonathan Rodriguez. I was jumping ahead of myself. Trade Jonathan Rodriguez to the Orioles last night. So he has more opportunity to play in the big league level in the outfield. But we'll tune in to Bridge to October tonight when we break down this series and preview the Dodgers series tonight. My overall takes is, dude, both of these teams are really, really fucking good, man. Really good.
Yeah.
Cleveland's rotation, like you said, they weren't really sharp, but they did enough to get the job done. Gavin Williams had 6 walks and still, if he didn't give up a 3-run home run, really would have been a competitive game too. But this Mariners offense, not everybody's clicking. Cal Raleigh hasn't been the same coming back from the WBC. He started off this series 0 for 8 with 8 strikeouts. He's not going to continue to suck like this. I'm going to just continue to tell people that. It's going to take time. But, man, Brendan Donovan, man, what a great just acquired from St. Louis. 2 home runs in the series. He's just got that pretty swing. It reminds me a lot of I wasn't alive for George Brett, but I see the comparison, right? I hear my dad talking about George Brett. I looked over and did a little side-by-side swing, and it looks a little similar. But, yeah, dude, him, Luke Raley, shout out, Highland native, Highland, Ohio, graduate of Lake Erie College. Dude had a hell of a series. Hopefully he, has a really breakout year for them. That would be huge, especially with the injury that happened to Victor Robles last year. He's kind of lost playing time to both Luke Raley and Dominic Kenzone, who had 2 home runs on opening day. This Mariners offense, to me, is just elite, especially with Josh Naylor, Julio Rodriguez, who were non-factors in this series. Just unbelievable stuff by them. And for Cleveland, I want to touch upon, too, before we'll continue to talk this series. Didn't really have a great offensive series other than for Chase Slaughter. Was the only one that really showed up. Steven Kwan, sure, he's batting .235. It hasn't hit a ball over 80 miles an hour this entire series. A lot of jams, bad body language. We're going to talk about that a lot on Bridge to October. Does he want out of Cleveland? That's going to probably be the main topic for the end of the show. But DeLauder, man, just a guy, ugly swing, but can get the barrel to the ball. Bo Naylor did not look good. Manzardo did not look good. Kafis did not look good. Eniel Martinez had good at-bats, but the numbers don't say that wise. I don't know why the fuck he was not playing and why Daniel Schneemann is getting at-bats, but that's for me and Coop to decide later on. But, man, this Cleveland team, they have a lot of work to cut out for them, but they're a good team. They're a very good team.
Yeah.
With the pitching, the bullpen, Peyton Paulette's looked pretty good coming out of the bullpen. Sean Armstrong's been a good piece that they added. Hunter Gaddis, when he gets back, where is he going to slide in? Will he be back at setup, or do they like Sean Armstrong there? I'm sure they're going to slide him back. But Cade Smith's my only concern in the bullpen. Obviously, blown save the other night. Continues to struggle in that closer role. Let's see how he performs. But, yeah, that's really all I have for Cleveland. But looking ahead, both of these teams have 2 big series ahead. Obviously, Seattle plays the Yankees tonight. Cleveland plays the Dodgers tonight. Tough task for both of these teams. And we're going to touch on that for a little bit before we talk about some of the surprise teams that we didn't even get a chance to talk about because of time constraints.
Yeah. Last thing on the Tribe, too. I think Rhys Hoskins needs to be playing more baseball. I just think he hits absolute piss out the ball. Manzardo, I'm just not big. He's just got such a slow swing. Takes forever. It's like such a whippy, not a whippy, it almost is like a circle when it comes. I'm not big on Manzardo, so I don't think obviously you bench him or anything, but I don't think we need him out there DH in 140, 150 games. I really don't think that's going to be his best ability. I think keeping him to 100 games, letting Rhys get into 120, 130 games, and at the end of the day, we need to figure out the outfield spots. We can't keep doing this with all these different fielders because so many guys are making play. Like that Kafis play was so big. And I'm not trying to dwell on CJ Kafis, but he just looks uncomfortable out there. Figure out if you want Kwan in left or center. I don't know. I like him in center, but you got to put somebody in left that knows what they're doing. So we'll see what happens. And they gotta limit the strikeouts, man. They struck out 47 times.
Holy fuck! They struck out it's the Mariners times last night. Yeah, the Mariners. So. This is gonna be a top 5 rotation all of baseball. But again, you cannot strike out 14 fucking times in a game. Unbelievable, man.
To their credit, though, they got about almost all those back on the Mariners, their pitching staff. Yeah. So, in their defense, and dude, if they just cut down I know this is like talking to an 8th grade team. If they just limit the strikeouts at the plate and they limit the amount of walks on the mound, I think this team will skip to 90 wins. I don't see how. And they are playing the Mariners, right? Which is a really good team. But it's just like kind of extremish numbers. So just like forecasting, if they can really cut down on that, I mean, if they're getting these strikeout numbers against like Mariners hitting, I mean, they're gonna roll, man. Like this, both really getting the well-oiled machine going, and I just love how they start just so much better than they used to for years. They finally start like, I mean, I'm not asking to go, 10-2, but they're finally a couple games over 500 in April, and I think they're on pace for that, or they will be on pace for that by the end of the month.
Yeah, and the series preview, I predicted the split because I thought coming into the series, we're going to have a game where this offense for Seattle explodes, right? Cleveland needs to limit the amount of mistakes just in general, right? They didn't play their best at all in the series, and they found a way to win 2 games, right? And for an offense that continued to struggle for years, just putting up quality at bats, like you said, Rhys Hoskins needs to play more. Had 3 hits on opening day. Didn't see him after game 2. We saw a lot of, Daniel Schneemann, CJ Kafis. I know they want to see those guys have at bats, but there's a reason why they brought Rhys Hoskins in here, a guy that hit 30 plus home runs a couple seasons ago. So he needs to play more often and more frequently for this team to succeed. But that's going to happen, right? When George Valera comes back, these questions will be answered, and we'll be talking more about a team that, why are they playing like this compared to the holes that they, have frequently right now, right? Why are they playing like this? I'm going to answer my own question is young team, but they're also like, they're not polished at all, right?
No.
A lot of question marks on some of these guys. Yeah. A lot of guys we just want to see play. And CJ Kafis only played like 50 games. They want to try him in the outfield. He's a first baseman. Just get him out of there.
Yeah.
Let him play first base. Figure it out if you want Manzardo to be your first baseman of the future or you want him to be your first baseman of the future. I'll let you decide that because I'm kind of, Manzardo had a great year last year, but that swing is just so ugly.
I'd be willing to go Kafis. And especially with this Bazana thing hanging over our head. I mean, when we get him, man, and if he can play, we're not going to have time to wait. We're going to have to go. So switch these guys off. Give them a game or 2. DH them. Use the DH. Like, I think you just got to put Hoskins in the outfield, man. I know people are so scared of that, but like, I don't know. You put Jonk there. I don't like that. Mean, shit. I mean, I don't get much worse than fucking Jonk.
I don't know. I don't like that because we just saw Hoskins, tag up on a deep fly, not even a deep fly ball, and looked retarded running at home. I don't want him to be in the outfield after watching that. He looked like Pete Alonso running home. But no, Rhys Hoskins, he's got to play. He's got to play no matter what. And I'll talk about that a lot on Virtual October tonight. But dude, let's move on. Let's talk about some teams that really impressed us. So we'll both have 2 teams. If we had the same team, we'll just spend a couple minutes talking about it. But my first team I was very impressed about is these Texas Rangers. Mackenzie Gore absolutely shoved. They took 2 out of 3 from a really good Phillies team. Phillies have a lot of questions to answer regarding Bryce Harper and all these other guys. Alec Bohm had a decent series for them as well. But, man, let's talk about the Rangers for a sec.
Yeah. Rangers are a team that they have such underrated pitching, man. Like, the amount of pitching they have, like, if they can stay healthy. I mean, it's all old, obviously, but Eovaldi, DeGrom, and they, like, even Seager. Yeah, sadly. And then, obviously, Seager, he's going to be on the offensive end, but a little older and kind of injury-prone. They just have so many good pieces, and if they can mix it in with Wyatt Langford going up to another level, I think this team can find themselves definitely competing for a playoff spot. I don't think they're a threat in that division. I just think the Mariners are I think they're just under the Dodgers with how dominant in, their division, if you rank all like the top teams in each division. But they definitely impressed me week 1. The Phillies just every year, man, every year since that World Series loss, they get less and less impressive to me.
Yeah, the only guy that really
sucks
impressed me for the series was Stott and Crawford. But how long is that going to keep up, right? Exactly. 3 games of baseball is not a lot to say. These guys are you know, here to stay and are going to continue what they're doing. But you could stamp like, hey, Chase Slaughter, what he's doing is historic, right? That's different.
Yep.
But I want to touch on, Andrew McCutchen. You know, there was all that talk about the Pirates moving on from him, not giving him an offer, right? They're spending all this money. Why wouldn't they want him back? And dude, he plays some good baseball in that DH spot.
You still
Batting
got it.
370, 445. Had a bunch of doubles in this series, dude. It's a good pickup for Texas if he could keep this up. Brandon Nimmo came over from the Mets in a trade. We know what he can do. Dude was raking. 333, had a homer yesterday. A lot of things to like about the Rangers pitching staff, and maybe even this offense. Even with Higashioka, could he go back to what he was with the Padres a couple seasons ago? They're a team to watch out for. They'll be a competitive ball club. Like you said, I don't know if they'll be a playoff caliber team. There's so many teams. Well, they'll be a playoff caliber team, but not a foe in the division at all. Mariners are just so good. We saw it this weekend, how deep they are. They're only going to continue to get better as the season progresses. But I just wanted to touch on the Rangers.
I think they're better than the Astros. I think they're for sure better than the Astros.
Astros look like shit this weekend.
I'll tell you what, the team that impressed me were the Angels. That was going to be one of my teams. I know they blew that game on Saturday, and then Sunday they should have won as well. But their hitting, man, just really impressed me. Especially with that. I know I touched on how I thought the Astros would be an under team when it came to one of my predictions. And I just thought like they would come out with a little better bullpen. But man, this Angels team fucking hits. And I know I fall for it every year, but like seeing Mike Trout do Mike Trout things is always a fun thing for me. I'm just at this point, you got to respect. Think what you want about this team, that he should leave, blah, 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 whatever you think about his career. I respect a guy that wants to stay one spot his whole career. And, if he can keep this up, man, like, obviously this team's so dangerous. You got Joe Adell. I think I can never pronounce a dumbass's name. Shonawell. Nolan Shonawell. Yeah, Shonawell. He's hitting the shit out the ball. Just seemed like a team that's – it's like slow. He doesn't hit the ball hard, but he like hits it in good spots. It's like a quarterback that doesn't throw like the best spiral, but he kind of like always puts it in a good spot. And they just have guys that play, man. Like Neto's a stud. Josh Lau is an interesting addition. He didn't have a great series, but he's an interesting addition. Obviously, all hoppy. So the pitching's obviously going to be rough at times. Like the first two games. However, Soriano looked pretty good in his first start. I don't even think he gave up an earned run. So we'll see how this goes the rest of the year. But this is just a fun team. I think that we'll have some hitting, and similar to the A's. If you just need to watch a game or kind of have a fun team to throw some bets on for like hits or home runs, this team can hit. So they impressed me a lot. My second team, I was curious what you thought about the Marlins. I know they swept the Rockies. I just like how this Marlins team plays. They played really well at the end of the year last year. Just like your initial thoughts kind of on that series. I know it was against the Rockies, but still, I think a sweep's a sweep.
Yeah, what a series by Owen Casey, first and foremost. Guy that came over from the
Insane.
Cubs. He's got a ton of talent at that ball club. Excuse me. But I like the Marlins. I think that they're better than what people project them to be. 79 wins last year. Took a big step up. My concern is, like, will they keep it up? Jacob Marcy didn't have a great series, but we know what he's going to do, right? Just a good bat to have in your lineup. Connor Norby came over from Baltimore. How is he going to play? Alo Lopez is obviously, I think he's a breakout candidate for this year. I like his plate discipline. I like his pop, his contact ability. Great shortstop up the middle. Devison De Los Santos, who got called up yesterday, he's going to provide thump for them if he stays up here long term. I like the Marlins. I think they're going to be a great ball club. The only concern I have is their bullpen is not very solid. But
yeah, bullpen's rough.
Yeah, but I just the Rockies. Can we talk about how fucking bad they are for a second?
I know. I shouldn't have.
11,
I
11
walked us into this conversation.
I mean, Katana pitched for them yesterday, 4 1/3. He only gave up 2 runs, but my God, man. I mean, just fucking dog shit across the board in their bullpen.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just not good stuff from them. But yeah,
It's rough, man.
I like the Marlins a lot. Yeah, and I want to talk on Angels too. I know you touched upon them too. They got guys. I just want to see Jorge Soler come back to form. That will help out Mike
Yes.
Trout. The pitching is so bad, but if they can somehow find a way to just like put up 7 runs a game, 6 runs a game, I know it's asking a lot, but they'll find themselves maybe winning 75, 78 games, it being around 500. So they got talent. They just got to figure out from a pitching perspective.
They need to hit some prospects, or they're at this point they've tried to patch it through free agency and trades. It's not going to happen. They have Jose Soriano, who's pretty solid, but other than that, like they're going to have to adjust. So we'll see what happens with this team. But very fun first series.
Very fun first series. And Soriano, you touched upon. Former reliever, sinker ball pitcher. A lot of trends now moving relievers to starters. You saw Brian Hainsley with the Orioles. I just learned that the Tigers wanted to make him a starter. I didn't know that was a thing in the offseason, but apparently they wanted him to do that. That's been a trend recently, and he's been a success story of that trend. Very good starter for the Angels, so on. But everybody else, man, I don't know what to think about Reed Detmers. I don't know what to think about Alek Manoah, right? So a lot of question marks there.
That dude's such an interesting case. But, Kurt Suzuki, they do have a great kind of new manager. I kind of like it. New young guy, going to keep him energized. Obviously, always like catchers, right? Kind of the only people that are facilitated in every single part of the game. So that's kind of interesting part to see if he can get more out of the pitching staff, see if he can get more out of Logan O'Hoppe behind the plate as well. So that's pretty much all I got, man.
Yeah, O'Hoppe's another good one too. I'm very high on him. I like his defense that he has, but also he has pop. And if he could continue to, he had a down year last year, but if he could get back to a 120 OPS plus guy, another guy to watch out for.
Probably the best right-handed pop out of the catch position.
Yeah. But before we go, I just want to talk a little bit more about the Marlins since you brought it up because I kind of just jumped ship on them. What were your overall thoughts about them? And we'll just continue to talk about. I was very surprised about Liam Hicks and all the youngsters just kind of, taking their first, sips of major league action and just kind of, producing in some roles.
Yeah, I just liked seeing Sandy back in his form. Yuri looked really good too. Michael Meyer looked pretty good. And their bullpen is not deep at all. However, I think a really good spot that they got was getting Fairbanks as the closer. He already has 2 saves on the year. Yeah. I think that, man, if he can, think about, people have to think about this logically. If you can lead the league in saves, I know saves are everybody hates that. If your closer can be a top 3 saves guy, what's a save? A win. That's literally that many wins your closer's given you in those close games. And if he can add 50 saves to this team with that pitching, and if you get 20 starts from Yuri and Sandy that you won't even have to use Pete, that's 10 wins apiece out of maybe 15 apiece they have for the season. I know it's a lot of math I'm saying right now and a lot of hypotheticals if they stay healthy. This team can win 70, 80 games. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but similar to last year, I think this is a very similar team to a Cardinals. And I think these are them and the Cardinals are going to be better than these teams I know the NL's just so, but even the Pirates, the Giants, depending on how they go, I think these young teams that just have a little more to play for just because they're not as proven as a lot of these teams that think they're a top level team, but kind of always stuck in the middle. I even think a team like the Reds can end up behind these teams. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Cardinals and the Marlins go. But I was just really impressed with the Marlins. I just think since last year I've been impressed because they ended the year so hot. They almost snuck into the wild card.
They did
last week.
And last thing I'll touch on too about them, they were without Kyle Stowers. We saw what Kyle
Yeah.
Stowers did a year
Yeah.
ago. Really their main thumper. But dude, Austin Slater, who's taken over that role, didn't really do anything offensively, but he had key plays. I know, I'll get you out of here in a second.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You're good.
He plays defensively, throwing runners out at home. And just overall great stuff by the Marlins. Very excited to see how they do. Very underrated ball club. I know people aren't high on them, but that's all I got for you. You want anything else to talk about?
Oh, shout out. Sign up for the MLB.TV. You get a free week trial. I got mine again. And then I'm probably just going to buy it. It is the best. It is like March Madness every day but baseball.
Yeah, man. I'm going to look into it because, like, obviously doing the show, I want to watch as many games as possible. Like, I already watch a shit ton of games, but I listen to a lot on the radio. And you can only see so much, right? You can only learn so much from radio broadcasts and so on and so forth. But, man, yeah, the ability, MLB Big Inning is so fun. I love it. I love it. Dude, it's the best. That's how I get my knowledge, watching all those MLB Big Innings. But from Brian Gross, I'm Andrew D'Agostino. Crack open your favorite beverage, have a beer, watch some